Thank you. Now it is my true honor to turn the podium to the President of the Board of Aldermen and my colleague this year on the school committee, Alderman William White.
Good evening, everyone. People of Somerville, it's hard to believe that a year has already passed since we were last together at the inaugural. If you recall, part of the theme of my speech back then was a Star Wars theme. Well, just like Star Wars always has a sequel, here's mine. Last year we heard about how our intrepid Jedi Board of Aldermen sensed that there was a disturbance in the force coming and was concerned about the cause. Well, this year we realized the cause as we experienced two severe disturbances in the force. The first was the decision of our evil galactic Governor Baker to impose a $50 million payment in the city of Somerville in order for the Green Line to go forward. Then we saw not only the election of Donald Trump as president, but the Republican Party taking control of the House and Senate. We can gauge the impact of the $50 million charge for the Green Line, but we have no idea of what to expect from the White House and Congress and how they may affect our city. There is already talk of conditioning community block grant development funds, which this city receives from the federal government to help finance programs in our city, especially for the low income and the disabled. We have a number of proposed cabinet secretaries who believe in dismantling federal programs in their very departments that have been in place since before the birth of a majority of people who live in our city. A Republican congressman has already proposed a bill that would prevent communities like Somerville from implementing environmental ordinances such as our plastic bag ban, and it is receiving substantial support from his colleagues, and this is just the start. Although future legislation may restrict our abilities to pass ordinances to protect the environment, nothing should and will reduce our resolve to make sure that all of our residents, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, national origin, ancestry, disability, age, political belief, sexual orientation, or gender identity, have the full rights that they deserve in our city. These unforeseen developments in Washington, D.C. teach us that there are many factors that may have a drastic impact on our programs and finances, but are beyond our control. So as we move forward in debating the very important financial and developmental issues that face us, we must keep this fundamental fact of life in mind. It doesn't mean that we all better hide and quake under our desks in fear, but it also means that we can't risk the city's future on a roll of the dice. Not that anyone here would propose either alternative. Facing these challenges, we have a Board of Aldermen that is well equipped to exercise its role in city government. And let me explain why. One of the strengths of this board is its committee system. Based on the emails and telephone calls that I receive from folks and comments that people make in the street or in the supermarket, it seems to me that many don't seem to realize that this board performs much of the work that is done is in committee meetings. That's where most proposed financial and legislative matters are discussed and deliberated over, many times for months and sometimes for years. Usually only those items that favorably pass through the committee process are actually voted on by the board at our Thursday meetings that people see on TV or read about in the papers. If they don't pass through the committee process, they are usually placed on file or withdrawn. There is no obvious no vote at an alderman meeting, so I fear that because of the way our meetings are covered and the way we do business, some of our residents think that this board acts as a rubber stamp because they are not aware of the items that the board does not pass, nor are they aware of those items that are refined or amended, or the financial items that may not be approved or have their amounts reduced as they go through the committee process. Unlike the U.S. Congress, where the parties relish drawing lines in the sand with nothing passing, we try to work cooperatively with the administration and come up with solutions to the problems facing our city. And let's look at some examples. During the past couple of years, the board expressed concern over the proposed taking of real estate for the construction of a fire station on Somerville Ave. So this item did not move forward. But that wasn't the end of it. We all recognize the need for a new fire station and will work cooperatively with the administration in finding a solution that does not require the taking of real estate by eminent domain. There are also bonding requests that have been submitted to the Finance Committee that were not approved immediately. Some are being refined, others amended. So trust me, for those who think that their real estate taxes are too high, if this board were only a rubber stamp, trust me, those taxes would be higher. Likewise, this board was presented with the proposed zoning overhaul for the entire city. The board expressed strong concerns about many of its provisions, but we simply didn't vote it down and say, forget about it. Instead, we are working with the city's planning staff. I see George Proakis in the office. He's doing a heck of a job towards the submission of a new zoning proposal, which we hope will meet our concerns and the concerns of our constituents. Similarly, we are addressing the proposed rezoning of Union Square that is currently before us with that same level of oversight. I want to commend Alderman Davis, our only freshman alderman last year, and because he's the only freshman, he's going to be the only person mentioned by name, but as chair of the Land Use Committee, he's presided over all of the meetings relating to the new zoning for the entire city, and also for Union Square, and has run a very open and inclusive process for public participation and in-depth analysis by the board. And folks shouldn't think that our board is merely reactive to items that are submitted to us by the administration. I would like to discuss some of the accomplishments of the board on its own items. Last year, this board approved 6 items, 6 ordinances, or amendments to existing ordinances, that addressed a number of quality of life issues that had been presented to us by our residents, such as 1, allowing the Board of Health to regulate dogs on dining premises with outdoor seating, 2, regulating the times that commercial establishments can place trash in the sidewalks, 3, regulating the hours that commercial parking lots can be swept, 4, strengthening our demolition ordinance so that residents can be more effectively notified when buildings in their neighborhoods are being demolished, 5, providing for a warning instead of an immediate fine for the first offense by folks with overgrown grass or bushes, and 6, restricting construction activities in residential neighborhoods during the early hours. Now, clearly, none of these are earth-shattering or what people would say are sexy, but this is us performing our role in responding to constituent concerns, and folks who suffered through a lot of those things, legitimately raised concerns that we addressed. In addition to those, we also amended 2 existing ordinances to give this Board of Aldermen approval authority for increases in water and sewer rates after public notice, and we approved an ordinance to establish a senior citizen water and sewer rate discount program. We also worked with the administration to make some changes, and we passed our revised pay-to-play ordinance, which provides for one of the strictest regulations of campaign contributions by developers and others doing business with the city and the entire country. And when 11 registered voters with an accompanying petition from 511 residents exercised their right to submit a proposed zoning amendment for inclusionary housing, this board spent many hours in meetings working to refine that proposed ordinance. The end result was an ordinance that will not only increase the total amount of affordable units that will be built in the city, but for the first time it adds a new tier of affordable housing for moderate and middle income families who are being priced out of the city of Somerville. The state legislature also approved 2 home rule petitions that had been previously approved by the Board of Aldermen. One that modernized our requirements for signatures on nomination papers to make it easier to obtain signatures to get in the ballot, and the other was for the establishment of a municipal job creation and retention linkage fee. And last but not least, after performing its due diligence, the Board of Aldermen voted to allow the Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion to be placed on the ballot for the electorate to decide. 65% of the voters approved that question, so the city will now move forward on its construction. The next step is for this board to cushion the tax impact that our property tax owners will feel when the major cost of this item hits the tax bills in around 2022. Now, in addition to doing all of these tasks, the members of the Board of Aldermen submitted 621 orders and resolutions last year to address issues presented to us by residents. These, together with the items submitted by the administration, were addressed at 141 committee meetings. Plus, we had 30 regular and special meetings of the Board of Aldermen. And those numbers do not include the numerous neighborhood, civic, and social meetings that aldermen attend as well. In addition to the proposed zoning overhauls that I mentioned earlier, based on our discussions during the Green Line extension, we can expect substantial bonding requests. It is important to note that the proposed zoning that will be submitted to us will incorporate concepts that are novel in this state and in most of the country. And I anticipate that the bonding requests, when combined with our existing debt, will be of a total amount that is perhaps unprecedented in our city's history. At this point in a speech, traditionally, when there are issues facing the public like this, it's common in the speech for the speech maker to quote from a Chinese proverb, or it's a curse, "May you live in interesting times." The curse, of course, is that by using the term interesting, it means fraught with danger, anxiety, and risk. I had intended to include that right in this point in my speech tonight, but I did some research, and I found that native Chinese professors in philosophy and history say that there's no such Chinese curse, and it was invented by some Western speechwriter. So I guess it's appropriate for me to use an old American expression instead. We can all see that the Board of Aldermen's plate for next year will certainly be more than full. That board consists of 11 members, each with an individual view and philosophy, who will decide those items. In order for any of these zoning or bonding requests to pass, 8 out of the 11 members will have to approve them. The state was wise to require these 8 out of 11 votes on issues that can impact the fundamental nature of a city. I can make no promises or predictions about the outcome of these items, nor would it be appropriate for me to do so. I will never claim to speak for any member of the Board of Aldermen on any issue that is before the board. All I can do is promise that I will do my best as president to ensure that the mayor has a fair opportunity to present his requests to the board, that all members of the board have the opportunity to pose all of their questions and receive thorough answers and information in response, and most importantly, that all members of our community have an opportunity to weigh in on these issues, especially at appropriate public hearings. I guess I can't quote the alleged Chinese proverb, "May you live in interesting times." Instead, how about a real one? If people are of one heart, even the yellow earth can become gold. This proverb tells us that as long as people are unified in their goal, that goal can be achieved. So as long as we are unified in our goal to make Somerville a better city, we can achieve the specific items that we need to accomplish that goal. Let us all keep this in mind as we move forward this year, and of course, may the force be with us all. Thank you. Guess you're next, right? I guess I introduce you, right?